are in Tribe of Excellence, our Facebook community for law enforcement professionals, fire, EMS, first responder professionals who are really looking to achieve work-life harmony. And so we have a super special guest with us here today, who is going to share with us some key tools that we can use, as well as his really amazing story that brought him here from Zimbabwe all the way to the United States of America. And he has created books and been a TED talker, and has a coaching program and a planning tool, multiple planning tools to help people achieve their goals. And so I can't be more excited to talk about and have a conversation with our special guest today. So let's see. I don't see any comments yet, but I think the comments are coming in. Hey, Trisha, good to see you there. Hello, Michelle. Glad that you are on in here. So we're talking with the author of this book, The S.P.E.A.R Method, 5 Simple Steps to Balance Success and Fulfillment. This is by Kuda Biza. I'm just really excited. Welcome, Janet, Renee. I see you guys all popping in. The fact that we have someone so incredible sharing with us tools, his story, all kinds of wonderful things. I cannot wait to share that with you. So, hey Steve, how are you today? So I'm going to let him in. Hi, Trisha. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dawn Reby, CEO of Excellence in Analytics. And our mission here is to create a space for law enforcement, fire, EMS professionals to come to and to regularly come to so they can have work-life integration. So I'm going to go ahead and get Kuda on here. Let me go ahead and improve Kuda. As he is joining us, I'm going to go ahead and continue to say hi to all of you. Glad that you are joining in today. I'm so excited about our special guest. And while he's getting on in here, I have to say it was cold this morning. Yeah, thanks, Steve. It was cold this morning, 35 degrees. We had to scrape off the car. It was quite the ordeal. So I still have my scarf on. Yes, welcome, Kuda. I'm glad that you're popping on in. It is trying to add you in. You might have to do a quick little download if you hadn't already. So, there he is. All right, welcome.
Hey guys, how are you?
I'm doing great. I know that you can't see the comments, so I'm going to let you know everything that's happening over here. But I just wanted to say thank you to you, to your wife Ruth, for setting this all up, and joining us here today is quite the gift for our little community. So thank you.
Well, first of all, your community is not little, it's quite big, because whenever 2 or more people are gathered, it's an amazing experience, and a lot of things can be accomplished there. So I'm gonna put my phone on a stand because I don't like the orientation right now. So just give me a second as I work on this so that you guys can have a good view of me.
Yep.
But like I said,
that sounds great. Welcome, Wayne and Amy.
Yeah, like I had said to Caroline. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, we can absolutely hear you. So you were talking to Caroline. Ruth is on here too. Hello, glad to see you here. I see Amy popping in and Sadie. Welcome to all of you. I know that Kuda, you might not be able to see the credits rolling over here, the comments, but I'm going to let you know what's shaking and baking and interrupt you with any questions. But welcome. Thank you for being here. And you're right. When 2 or more people gather, change happens. So thank you.
Yeah. Is this better now?
Yeah, absolutely. I can see you right in the middle there. That's fantastic.
Perfect. Cool.
So, for those folks who don't know Kuda, he's quite amazing. Actually, I had the chance to speak with him and his wife not so long ago. I've been using your calendars your planners rather, for a while. I love the goal focus on them. And then, of course, reading your last book just, brought me into a new space. So I was really excited about that. Nice. But I'd love for you to just take a moment and share. You have some really great stories, and we have about a half hour together. So I'd like to start off with who you are, and what your message to the world really is.
Well, it depends who you ask. If you ask my 4-year-old niece Hannah who I am, she'll say that I am Uncle Bunko. That's what she calls me. But I'm just an entrepreneur who's just trying to use business to make a difference. And a lot of that comes from my upbringing. I was born and raised in Harare, Zimbabwe. I started my first business when I was 9 years old. And there were certain life experiences that I went through that made me realize that I had an opportunity where I could leverage business to make a difference. Because growing up in Zimbabwe, I witnessed a lot, from people struggling with poverty, not being able to pay for their tuition, to people, going to sleep hungry at night. I experienced it myself too when we couldn't have anything to eat because we're in going through a severe drought. And that really just gave me, the fuel and drive to just go out there and make it my era. And fast forward, I'm now here in the US and have started multiple companies plus a nonprofit. And through all of that, we've been able to provide meals to 1 million people and also send hundreds of children to school in Africa while staying on the right side of things with law enforcement.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Fantastic. So, you put a lot of, there's so much here to unpackage, really, coming from another world, really, another world. And I read about in your book here, I read about what it took for you to come to college here,
Mm-hmm.
the passion that you had, the strength that you had. And I especially love the story of Sarah and what ignited all of this in you when you were super little. So can you share with the folks here, what was that starting point for you
Yeah, so
with Sarah?
with Sarah, what happened was, I used to walk 2 miles or so to school every single day, and I would always pass by this house, and I would see kids my age. I was like around 10 years old at the time, playing, and you could tell that they're not wearing any uniform, they're not planning on going to school. And in my mind, I was like, whoa, these kids have their life. They don't have to worry about going to school and all of that. But then one day I decided, let me just go really get to the bottom of it, right? My Sherlock Holmes investigator hat was on that day, and I went to the house. And when I got there, I met Sarah and her siblings, and I just decided to play. And I asked Sarah, a question that I thought is an innocent question that any kid could answer. And the question was, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Sarah looked at me like straight in the eyes and she goes like, Kuda, I'm just waiting to die. And it kind of like surprised me, like, why would a 10-year-old be thinking about dying? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, my parents are dead. I don't go to school. Therefore, all that's left is for me to die. And it was in that moment that I realized, number one, the power of dreams. Dreams are so powerful. Just you having the ability of having a positive expectation of something. Like for me, for example, the thing that drove me every single day, the thing that made me do my homework instead of watch the Flintstones, or to just drive and do things, was that I had this dream of coming to America. But because Sarah wasn't going to school, she had lost that ability to dream. And for me, it bothered me a lot. And I remember walking home, leaving that house, and I would see, like, the Benzes and all the wealthy people, like, driving around. I'm like, how come they're not helping her? Why isn't the government doing anything? And that's kind of like where the spark came in my mind, that hey, I want to be successful, not so that I could have, the flashy things in life, but to help people like Sarah. Because it was in that moment at 10 that I realized that the only difference between Sarah and I was the family I was born in, right? Like, we're the same, we're 10
Mm,
years old,
yeah.
and, the only difference was that my parents were still alive, and I was fortunate enough in that regard. And hers had passed away, and her grandma couldn't afford to pay for her tuition. But that was really the only difference. So that was really the fuel and the spark that started everything.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you focus on this dream, right? And I look at our folks who are either here live, myself, or people who are going to listen to this replay, and and I think about the drive and energy that was coming from you at such a young age, and I wonder, where is that dream? Does a dream still exist for our folks? I mean, a few years ago, this was my dream, creating a coaching business where we could support our community. And I was told, like, you're nuts. That's never going to happen. This is never going to, but you just keep on going. Your drive to build your multiple businesses, to contribute to food and education for so many children, comes from your vision of that, which, we actually read quite a few of the same books. I saw some notes relative to James Clear and Napoleon Hill. And I was like, oh my God, your library looks like mine, right? Because it all starts with this dream, this vision of what you want your life to look like. So, okay, so you're 10 years old, it sparks this crazy interest in you, and in desire to make some improvements, and you don't stop. You just keep on going. You come here, you go to college, and make influence wherever you go, create influence. And so what caused you to write this book? This is the S.P.E.A.R method, 5 simple steps to balanced success in fulfillment. What made you write this book?
Yeah, so before I answer that question, I think there's an essential dot in the story, because whenever you're sharing a story, it's all about connecting dots that I would like to share. So when I graduated high school, right, I came from a poor family. There was no way that my parents would have been able to pay for my college tuition. And I remember going to my parents and like, hey guys, I have this dream, and I know that we don't have any money. So, what's the plan here? And my dad was like, hey, listen, we'll support you in the pursuit of your dream, but the reality is, from a resource perspective, we don't have the resources. But we can give you shelter, food, and whatever you need, but you're gonna have to figure it out. You're a man now, you have to figure it out. And for me, it really then drew out a key distinction, which is focus. What you focus on is gonna determine if your dream is gonna become a reality or it's just gonna be a dream. And here's what I did. I had other friends who I went to school with who also wanted to come to America, but their focus was off. And what do I mean by that? They were looking at the resources, meaning that they were like, oh, okay, I want to go to America, but my dad doesn't have $40,000 a year to pay for it, so I'm not going to go to America. I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, I don't have the resources. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out, but I can be resourceful, right? Because in life, nobody's born a CEO. Even if you're, part of a billion-dollar family, you're going to become a CEO one day, but you're not born a CEO. You're not born with all these accomplishments. You get to create them, right? So that's kind of like one fundamental thing I realized, like, oh, wow, we have the ability to create. And where the resourcefulness comes into play is that I realized that the number one resource I needed in order for me to actually make my dream to come to America a reality was internet. Because I knew if I had access to the internet, I could study for my SATs, I could apply for scholarships, and by just putting those two together, not focusing on the lack of resources, but focusing on how can I be resourceful, it's game changing. So what I did is I went to a guy who owned an internet cafe, and I was like, dude, your internet cafe, it opens at 6 a.m. and you close at 6 p.m. If I was to say to you, can you give me a job? You're most likely going to tell me, hey, Kuda, I have enough people, we're full, blah, blah, blah. I don't have any open role now. But what I want to do is I want to present to you a no-lose scenario, because we're focusing on how we can be resourceful. So a lot of people are looking for the internet at 6 p.m. when you close. Why don't you open it up for 5 more hours from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. and I'll be the guy who work that shift. Because right now you're not making money, so you have nothing to lose. The money you're going to generate during that time will be what pays for my salary. So it's a no-lose scenario for you. In fact, there's tremendous upside because if it's full for 5 hours, you're going to make a lot of money. He said yes. And what I would do is I would work from
Yeah.
6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., I would sleep inside the internet cafe, do my, SAT studies, apply for scholarships, and so forth and so forth. And that was kind of like the game changing moment. So anybody who has a dream, sometimes our dreams are so big that they overwhelm us because we don't have the resources to get there. But if you're to shift your focus from focusing on the resources you don't have and focusing on how you can be resourceful, it changes the game. So the bottom line, or the key point I want to leave this community with, is that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions you ask yourself, right? So on YouTube, I have a video where I talk about negative self-talk. So for instance, if I was to ask myself, you know, how can I afford college versus, well, I can't afford going to college. How is this going to happen? It's a different question in itself. So if it's a higher level question versus a lower level question, it shapes where you're going to be. Now, to answer your question about the book,
I'm going to pause you here for a second, Kuda. I'm going
mhm.
to pause you here because I want you to see some of the comments that are going on here. There's a lot of people who are just loving. First of all, I love this story, but there's so many people here who are loving this story because we see people with this victim mentality. We see people with this, defeatist mentality who are just like, that'll never happen, or meh. And you're, the highlights here, Steve, Caroline, Michelle, I see you guys. The highlights here really are stressing, in what you're talking about is truly focusing on the solutions and asking yourself the questions that best define the how to achieve versus if I can achieve. So I just wanted you to see some of the feedback and kind of, get a sense that this story is quite, first of all, kudos to you, Kuda, because you just like found a solution, and I'm sure you were tired, but you wrote all those essays, all those survey, college scholarship essays, and did all the things without complaining. You just did it. So that's fantastic. Trisha says, focusing on the positive versus the negative. Yeah, focusing on what we can do, what opportunities are around us. Michelle says, personal responsibility, be your own best resource. She loves it. So do I. And not once did Kuda say, why can't I have everything that so-and-so has? He went out and got it himself. And I think that's a message we need to pause on to really absorb the value there. What are you doing in your life right now that might feel like you're just saying, it is the way that it is, versus, the S.P.E.A.R method or Kuda's approach, which is really find your resources and achieve what you intend to achieve.
Yeah.
I love it.
And
All right, Kuda, go ahead. I interrupted you.
no, fine. And it's also, like I said, also the questions you ask yourself on a daily basis, i.e., you could ask yourself, why am I broke? Well, the answers your brain is going to give you could be like, because you're dumb, because you're an idiot or whatever. It doesn't empower you to take any action. But if you ask a question to say like, how can I afford blah, blah, blah? Now your brain starts to be creative. It's like, well, you can afford, XYZ if you were to maybe side hustle, if you're to do this, if you're to do that, So just make sure that as you're talking to yourself and you're chasing those dreams, you're asking yourself, action-oriented, high-quality questions. Now, fast forward, right? I come to America. I went to college. When I was in college, I started my second business. We were able to send a lot of kids to school. And what that led to is me being recruited in a multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 company. And the company actually created a role for me. So the role didn't exist. And it was for me to be kind of like an entrepreneur within this company. And this company, they owned like 300 brands at the time. So brands that everybody knows, like, Crock-Pot, Yankee Candle, Mr. Coffee. And my role in the organization was to create new businesses. So businesses that didn't exist, that was kind of like my role. So one of the businesses I started was a business called Crockpot Cuisine, because my thesis was, hey, we're selling millions and millions of slow cookers, and we're not really monetizing when people are using it. That business took off. It went from zero to over $25 million in revenue. For a kid who was fresh out of college, it kind of like earned my stripes within the organization. And then I kind of like got the bug of like corporate America, right? Because I was climbing the ladder, I was being promoted, I was getting these big bonuses. Before you know it, I was on this six-figure salary, and I was just now solely focused on success. And I just went into this mode where I was just like working super hard and just crushing it. But then I forgot that as human beings, we need to find balance in our lives. And during that time when I was chasing all of the success, I didn't go back home. I didn't go, spend time with my parents and really connect with my siblings now that I had the resources to do that. And one day, my sister was walking outside with her 18-month-old daughter, and a dog just came out of nowhere and bit her. And we didn't really think much of it, mainly because the guy who owned the dog came over with a veterinary, and they were like, oh, the dog is good. You just need to dress it, blah, blah, blah. Well, the dog wasn't good. It had rabies. And the thing with rabies is that if you don't get a vaccination or like an injection within 24 hours, it's done. You're going to die. And my sister died suddenly. She was like 40 years old. And for me, it kind of like really just took like this shock to say like, hey, dude, it's good to be successful, but you also need to make sure that you focus on fulfillment. So that's why the title for the book is The S.P.E.A.R Method, 5 Simple Steps to Balanced Success and Fulfillment. Because what's the point for you to be a miserable billionaire, right? You make all the money in the world, but you're miserable. Your relationship with your family, your friends, your spouse are broken because you've just spent all the time working. And I went on a quest, and I was like, how can I balance my pursuit for success? Because you need money to do some of the things you need to do if you want to change the world, right? Like, I want to educate 1 million kids in Africa. I want to feed millions of people, across the world. In order for me to do that, I need to have the financial resources to do that. So there's a pursuit of success that needs to happen. But you need to also balance it by making sure that you are fulfilled inside, because success is more the external, fulfillment is more of the internal. So I was like, what can I do to really find the equation to crack the code? So I interviewed, hundreds of successful people who I felt they were fulfilled and also successful. And I also realized that the ultimate failure in life is success without fulfillment. And then I went on this journey to write the book, the S.P.E.A.R Method. And what S.P.E.A.R stands for really is S is seek your purpose, right? You want to seek your purpose, you want to seek your why, because if you have clarity on your calling, you know exactly what your life's purpose is. The challenge is that a lot of people spend life living someone else's purpose. Well, your mom told you that being an accountant is the sexiest thing in the world, but deep down you want to be a singer, and you spend your life, pursuing your mom's purpose for your life. You're never going to be happy. You're never going to be fulfilled. You could be successful, but you never have that balance. So the first thing is you want to just understand what your purpose is. And in the book, I give some tips on how you can identify your purpose. So you want to read the book so that you know the tips on how to find your purpose and your calling. You want to say?
And I actually just finished this book too. And, I think what I see in the work that we do is so many supervisors in particular and upper level leaders, they get so committed to the work product, right? In policing and fire and EMS, they care for the people they're serving, and they often put work ahead of themselves. And so what I really enjoyed about this piece is that your beliefs are very similar to mine, and that you can excel in your career and provide true value in alignment with a life that is truly fulfilling and joyous. And so I think so for folks in this particular group are hearing the language on a regular basis to find that work-life integration, to be excellent and hardworking and work smart and lead with yourself in the front line. And so what I love about your book here is that there's like action steps in here to achieve each step of that S.P.E.A.R method, which is really, really wonderful.
Yeah.
So I want to share with you some of the comments that are going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Steve says, very sad about your sister. I agree. That's terrible. He said, rabies is super serious. I think it's the only virus that's fatal. Yeah, especially with advanced Western medicine. Exactly. Those are the best kind of rules. Yeah, I can see that too. Caroline says, this is such a massive culture change. You don't have to sacrifice the things that make you happy to live a successful life. And I think that this book comes, at least into my hands, and hopefully into your hands, folks who are listening here to live or to the replay, at a good time. I mean, we're in the middle of COVID, and there's all this stuff about wellness, this, wellness, that. And what I really like is the step-by-step that this provides to really achieve that work-life integration. So, Kuda, you talk about having that design and figuring out the clarity piece. And then you said, create a blueprint, create the plan. Help us, guide us through the rest of this S.P.E.A.R model so we understand how it works.
Yeah, so I'll do it quickly because I know we're getting to the 2:30 time slot. So once you know your purpose, you want to come up with a plan, because failing to plan is planning to fail. So it's super important for you to then sit down and really just articulate, okay, this is my purpose, this is my vision, this is my calling for my life. How am I going to get there? One of the things I did when I came to America is I went to flight school, and I also went to business school. In business school, we're told, create a business plan. In flight school, you have to create a flight plan. So for your life, you have to create a plan for your life, because it's more important than a business, and also more important than just a flight. So one of the things that I did is I tied into one of my other businesses, which is our planner business. We have a personal development brand called This Is My Era, and there are templates that you can actually take from links in the book, where you can actually follow a framework and a process on how to plan. And one myth that I just want to break real quick is that planning is not a static one-time event. It's something that's done regularly. So for instance, I plan every single day, but it doesn't mean that I'm spending 3 hours planning. It could be 15 minutes, but you want to make sure that you're planning your time and allocating your time towards things that drive towards your purpose, because time is the most limited resource in the world. Our ability to get the most out of it is super critical, and planning is super effective for that. And then the next part of the framework, which is the E, is execute. Because what's the point of you spending the whole time in identifying what your purpose is, coming up with a plan, and then doing nothing, right? It doesn't help. So
action.
Exactly. So one of the quotes that I coined is that the 3 most important days in life are the day you're born, the day you find out why, you find out your purpose, but each day you act on your why. Because there's a famous quote, I think Mark Twain said that the 2 days in life, I felt it was incomplete. So I was like, dude, there are 3 days. Because if you're born and you find out your why, but you're not acting on your why, then what's the point? So action is literally the trigger, right? And Tony Robbins likes to say that, knowledge is potential power. Knowledge is not power, it's potential power. Execution is what's key, because now that you know that you need to seek your purpose, You need to come up with a plan. But if you don't execute, you're never going to achieve success. And more importantly, you're never
Yeah.
going to be fulfilled. So that's the next one. And then the last two are achieve and repeat. So for those of you who are into physics,
Yeah.
there's a law of motion that says that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So for whatever action you do, you're gonna achieve something. So it could be 100% of your goal, it could be 10% or whatever, but there's an achievement that you're gonna do. So what you want to do is once you do your thing, you want to track and assess how much you've achieved, because then it feeds into the planning process on the things that you need to do tomorrow and the day after, next week, next month, because you're always monitoring and tracking your achievements. So that's why the last two are achieve and then repeat, because you assess your achievement and then you repeat the same process of aligning your actions with your purpose, planning, executing, achieving, and there is the S.P.E.A.R method.
And that's what I love too, is that not only do you give folks the method, but you give them another tool, which is how you and I actually connected in the first place. This is my era calendars, like not like a planning tool. What I love about this planning tool, and I know Caroline has some links, so you can add those links to the chat, or maybe Ruth, you can add them, or whoever has them can add them. That was part of what, like, reaching out to them one day. So here's how it happened. I grabbed this planner and I was like, I really was looking for a planner that focused on goals and actions toward the goals. So I wanted the macro and the micro and the things that needed to happen in order to reach the micro that then reaches the macro, right? And I couldn't find anything anywhere. They were just like these calendars that were just calendars, right? But then I came across This Is My Era, and I was like, whoa. So they have each of the goal areas. I write my goal, and it's obvious to me. I look at it, I read it every day, and I create action around those specific goals that I'm achieving. And so the way the planner is designed, I think you have 1 month and 3 months, right? The way the planner, I think I have the 3-month one, is designed is to progress people on that path. So that's pretty much how I found, like how all this happened. I loved this planner. I was using it for years. I would send it to my clients as like little gifts, especially the ones who were working on organization and that kind of thing. And then one day Ruth and I connected, and she's like, yeah, we have this book, we have all kinds of tools. And I knew that there was a bigger story here. So to hear, thank you, Ruth. And so to hear the story of really the passion, and even getting on the phone with you privately and your wife privately to talk about what drives you and all the shifts in culture that you change in our culture here to give back, to create excellence, and to do it in a very intentional way, I think is just superior. And so I thank you for your gifts of energy, of time, of knowledge, and of translation of the knowledge into application. All of it is incredible. And so Caroline's inviting folks to take advantage. Yes, Sadie is woohoo S.P.E.A.R. I love it. Trisha is very motivated, and so what I want to just wrap up here is, at no point, Kuda, did you say things are not fair to me. At no point did you say I can't. You have continuously filled this platform here, as well as your TED Talk, which congratulations, by the way, and the other platforms that you talk on, with ideas of you design the life that you want to live, and it is up to you, not anyone else, to design it and to go and get it. And so I thank you for sharing that, for sharing your tools with us and your energy. And I can't wait to grab your next bazillion books when they come out, because I know that they're truly valuable. I want to end with what him and his wife do with a portion of the proceeds. That all goes back to children so that they can eat and go to school, because filling our brains and filling our minds is what helps us grow, and everybody deserves that growth. And so I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of Ruth for you know, pushing through when things are hard. And even now, I'm sure it's not easy for you every day, but pushing through and sharing your gifts with the world to inspire people to design the lives that they want to live, to stop making excuses, to create action, and to go and get it. So thank you. Any last words that you want to share with our community as we wrap this up?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Firstly, major shout out to Ruth. She actually co-designed the planner with me, and it's a 90-day planner. That's the one that we have right now. The other planner that
Yeah.
we have is a budget planner. So
Budget.
we decided that, hey, the area of finance is another area that a lot of people struggle with. So it's actually a new product. We launched it, I think, like last week. So definitely check it out if you want to get your finances in order and you want to stay ahead of the game. So major shout outs to Ruth for all the work that she's put in behind the scenes. But a key word I just wanted to share with people is that, your tomorrow starts today. And also fortune favors the bold. So what you need to really think about is that, a lot of people wait until the beginning of the year to start planning. No, you're already behind the ball, right? The time for you to start planning for 2022 is now, right? Now is the time for you to think about what are those goals, dreams, and aspirations across every single area of life that you want to achieve. So remember, tomorrow starts today. So start planning for 2022 now. It'll be great if you use our planner. It'll be great if you use someone else's planner as long as you plan. And then
Yeah.
the fortune favors the bold, message is really that you shouldn't let your big, hairy, audacious goals scare you to the point where you're paralyzed from taking action. What you should actually just do is just be bold and just you're going to figure it out. One piece of the story that I didn't share is that I arrived in America with only $40 in my pocket. If you think about the things you can do with $40, right, in America, it won't last you a day, especially if you're like in New York City, you go to a restaurant, it's gone. But I landed
Yeah.
at Miami International Airport, $40 in my pocket, and I knew, like, you know what? I'm just going to have to be bold. I'm just going to go
Mm.
for it. And, imagine you guys, you're born here, you have the network, the relationships, and everything. So, yeah, if I can do it, imagine what you can do, right? Because I didn't know anybody except the admissions counselor who I was talking to via email, but he's not like a family member or anything like that. But with hard work, with belief, and of course, some luck and miracles along the way, I was able to get here. But what you'd find is that luck and miracles usually happen when preparation meets opportunity. So if you take the time preparing for that
Yeah.
opportunity, you become lucky. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for giving me the time and the platform. And I look forward to coming back to this platform and hearing the amazing stories of the accomplishment that this community would have achieved over the next couple of years.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much to you. Thank you so much to Ruth. And thank you so much to all of you who are listening here or live. If you are here live, go ahead and show some love for Kuda. And if you are here listening to the replay, we're going to come back and check out your comments. So feel free to plug some comments in as well. We will see you all next week. Thank you, Kuda. And enjoy the rest of your afternoon, all of you. All right. Bye now. Thank you so
Bye.
much.